So I've been debating how much of this whole miscarriage journey that I want to share on here, because I understand that it's kind of a hard topic to talk about and to hear about, especially if it's not something that's really on your radar right now. You may not want to. But when we had our first loss, I had no idea what to expect as far as like the process during and after. And that was just a really hard place to be because I'm somebody who likes to know what to expect. So you may know, if you've been following, that it was about 4 weeks ago that we found out that this pregnancy was no longer viable. And we decided to wait and kind of let my body pass the pregnancy when it was ready. But about 2 weeks into that, so about 2 weeks ago, I was having a really hard time emotionally with waiting, and I just wanted it to be over. And so I went to the doctor and I got some Cytotec, which is a drug used to induce a miscarriage. So I took that. A couple hours later, experienced some cramping and spotting that lasted for 24 to 36-ish hours. Never got beyond just a little bit of spotting, and then it stopped and nothing happened again after that. And I went back to the doctor last week, and she didn't want to give me any more medication, which I was actually kind of okay with. So we've just been waiting now for it to happen naturally again. And things kind of started getting going on Sunday. I started having just some really mild cramping, and not really even like spotting. It just looked like I was passing maybe a little bit of tissue, and that continued into Monday. And then yesterday I started having a little bit more intense cramping, almost like period cramp. I've had to spend quite a bit of time on the toilet today, and the cramping doesn't really feel like period cramping. It feels like what I would imagine like a legit contraction feels like, just on a much smaller scale than with a full-term baby. So they kind of like come and go, and they like increase in intensity and then and decrease in intensity until the next one comes on. So I've had to do a lot of like deep breathing and some swaying, leaning on things, kind of utilizing a lot of the stuff I learned in my doula training, which is actually super handy. So I can see why a miscarriage doula is starting to become a thing, and why doulas are so helpful during full-blown labor as well. So basically that's where I'm at right now. I may seem like I'm handling this really well, and you may think, oh man, she's so strong. And I mean, I'd like to think that I'm pretty strong and all. But I've also had, like I said, 4 weeks to prepare myself for this, and I was just really ready for this to happen. And so, yes, it's sad and it sucks, but it's also kind of a relief that things are starting to move now. And also, it's not like I'm the only one who can go through this and do this like with some level of strength. I think we as women don't give ourselves enough credit sometimes for how strong we are emotionally and physically. And for all the moms out there who've like gone through the birth and delivery of their children, like props to you, because it's really freaking painful, even with like just a miscarriage, just, not very far along. So I can only imagine what it would be like with a full-term baby. So far I've experience with a like 13-week baby, and then now this baby was only about 6.5, 7 weeks as far as size. So basically that's where I'm at right now. My husband is not with me, he's at work. So if you have to go through this, which I hope none of you do, and you have to be alone, like, you can do it. It sucks, but you can do it. So I guess that's all I have to say. I shared in my feed some of the things that I'm doing to support my body right now through this process, in addition to just some deep breathing and like journaling and praying and all that good stuff. Okay, update. Things are hurting more. So I called my husband and asked him to see if there was a way he could come home from work a little early, because even though I technically can do this alone, it doesn't mean that I have to. The contractions continued to get worse since the last time I checked in on here, and were like way more painful than I was expecting them to be, considering we weren't very far along in this pregnancy. And I was passing a lot more stuff as well, and I actually I passed what I believe is the amniotic sac, and actually got to see it, which was kind of cool. So we know from our most recent ultrasound a couple weeks ago that the baby, like the itself, like that tissue had absorbed or dissolved or whatever you want to say. So we know like our physically formed baby wasn't in the set, which actually kind of makes things easier for me to, I can just look at it from like, oh, this is kind of cool, like clinical perspective, as opposed to having more of that emotional attachment to that. Of course, the DNA is still in there and all that, but there's not like an actual baby. So since then, like I still was having contractions and like passing a decent amount of stuff, but it has lessened quite a bit since then and continues to. So doing a little better now. I'm excited to kind of start to be on the other side of this.